Welcome to another class, friends. Today we are using a yoga block, which is just a small piece of dense foam that you can use for propping yourself up. Today we're going to use it for balancing a little bit. If you don't have one, that's okay. The class will be fine without one, but something else you could possibly use would be a tissue box around the same size and weight. But like I said, if you don't have one, that's all right. You're going to start standing today. I'm going to sit for the first little bit so you can see what I'm doing with my upper body, and then I will join you and stand, and you'll just be able to see my legs, but you should be able to get through it with just my voice. So yoga block off to the side for the moment. We're going to stand or kneel. For me, knees right under hips, ankles right under knees. You're going to take a deep breath in and reach your arms up over your head. One hand is going to grab onto the other wrist, and then you're going to reach up and out, away from your hips and over to the side. Breathing out to come back to center, switch hands, and then breathe in, reach in the other direction, giving your wrist a light pull to aid that stretch, and then back. You're going to breathe in as you fold in half, so forward fold, down to reach for our ankles, nice flat back, so we've got to stretch through the hamstrings here. Then widening the feet a little bit, you're going to drop down into what I'm calling a baby squat because I don't know the name. Like a baby sits right between your heels. You might not be this low, that's all right. Sit here for a second. You can use your elbows to press out against your knees. You're going to pop your hands on the floor. Bottom goes straight up in the air. And again, we're folded forward, stretching our hamstrings, but we're also stretching our back because we're letting it curve. Then you're going to take a breath in before we come up and breathe out. To start, tilting your tailbone down first and then unraveling the whole body to standing. And we're going to repeat. You'll only see my legs from now. So, feet are back under our knees. We breathe in, grab a wrist to lean to the side. Breathe out, come to center. Breathe in, gently guide the other wrist over to the other side. Breathe out, come back down. Breathe in, folding in half, back is flat to start with. Breathe out, wiggle those feet out, give yourself some room to sit between your hips. Breathe in, hands down, bottom up, curled over, and then breathe out, engaging through the back of your legs to pull your pelvis up first and then unraveling the spine a bone at a time. Breath in, hold onto your wrist, lift up and away from your hips so your hips stay and you lean away from them. Breathe out to come back to center. Breathe in, stretch the other side of your body right over on the diagonal. Breathe out to center. Breathe in, forward fold. Breathe out, drop down. Nice little sit here between your ankles. Breathe in, fold. Back is curved. Breathe out. Soft bend in the knees if you need it. While you unravel that body one more time. Breathe in, reach up and out of your hips. Big stretch to the side. Breathe in. Over to the other side. And out through center. Into fold, get those hamstrings stretched a little. Nice, flat back. You can touch the floor if you want to, or if you are able. Breathe out. Drop down into your baby squat. Rock side to side a little. Breathe in. Fold it in half. And then breathe out. Hamstrings and glutes help tilt that pelvis back, and then our abdominals pull us up. Beautiful. It's taking a step forward into the middle of our mat. Sitting right up on our bottom bones. Feet are out in front of us in a nice bend. Knees are about a fist distance apart as well, or hip distance. And you're going to take your block or your tissue box, whatever you've got, and pop it on top of your head. Make sure it's in a nice flat spot, and then it's going to balance there. So it's helping us, hopefully, with our posture if it's in the right spot. We're going to breathe in and grow tall. Breathe out, and then our tailbone is going to reach forward towards our heels as we tuck our tail under and roll back slightly. They're just small to start with. Breathe in and hold. Breathe out and sit. Good. Eyes straight ahead. Air goes out of the lungs as our bottom's reaching towards our heels. Shoulders are away from your ears, so your eyes need to stay forward. Breathe in and hold. Breathe out. Curl up. Breathe in. Sit tall. The only difference to this one is that normally as we curl forward on these little rollbacks, I would have you lead with the top of your head. But if you do that today, that block is going to come off. It's okay if it does and you need to readjust. As you start to get a little more confident, keeping that chin in line, you can roll a little further back. Feeling like your core is pulling inwards and not pressing out to support you. Breathe out, come back. Breathe in. Good. Couple more. You keep going, see how far you can get down before that block falls off. If you like a little bit of a challenge, sometimes it's just fun to have a play. We don't have to get it right all the time. I'm going to wiggle forward. Whoop. Got really clean, slippery hair today as well, so it could end up going badly. I'm going to go all the way down if I can, holding it still. Coming back up. Beautiful. Taking your block, if it hasn't fallen yet, you're now going to pop it either long ways if you are taller, if you find it hard to get into a small ball, or the horizontal way, if you can curl up a little smaller. You're going to pop it on your knees and then pop your forehead on the block. I know this looks silly. Hands are going to go behind your knees to start, and then you're going to tiptoe your feet up off the mat. It's got a nice curve in the spine. Your head is pressed into your knees. I've just realized I've got to move forward so I don't hit the wall as I go back. Holding on, nice deep curl in the front of your body. We breathe in and breathe out. So it's our rolling that we already know. Good, but holding onto that block. So it's helping us or challenging us to keep that exact shape and not let go. If that's a little tough for you, you can always pop the block between your heels and your bottom, holding onto the outside of your knees, keeping your head in. There's another way to hold it. Breathing in as we roll back, breathing out as we roll up. Good. Trying not to break the shape. So the block is there to hold you in that position. If you happen to have two, feel free to chuck one between the heels and the bottom and one between the head and the knees. We'll breathe in, breathe out. Good. Another one. Breathe in, oh, and there goes mine. Breathe out. So I let go of the block dropped. It's out of the way for just the moment. And then we're going to lay back flat on the mat. In our neutral if we can. So that pelvis is up toward the ceiling. Nice and flat. Our face is parallel to the ceiling. Hands are down. You're going to take a breath in here. As you exhale, you're just going to lift one leg off the mat. Slight hover, so it's not very high. Breathe in, put it down. Breathe out. Lift the other leg. Pop it back down. You're going to continue to do this, and as you exhale and lift the leg, you want to make sure that your hips stay as level as they can. You want to peek up and have a little look, so we're not rocking side to side. But more importantly, we're making sure our spine doesn't change shape. So I've got that little gap between my lower back and the mat. I'll move my hands so you can see. And as I lift my leg, I'm not letting my pelvis roll toward me. And as I lower it, I'm not letting my lower back arch up from the weight of my legs. Go a couple more. Then we're going to try and glue those legs together and lift both. So the higher you go is actually easier on this one. Hands press firmly into the floor. Breathe in, prepare. Breathe out, lift those legs. Head can stay down. If it's starting to get uncomfortable in the lower back, you can always pop the hands under your bottom cheeks, which will help tilt your lower back into the mat and support your back. But hands by your side if you can. Up and down. You can hover them just slightly. And down. And your whole body is working here. We're concentrating on the core. And again, pulling in and toward our spine and not pressing out to support that. So even gluing the legs together, You hopefully can feel that traveling up. Now we're going to curl our head off the mat and our hands are going to reach for our heels. And down, it's just small. And down, we're going to see if we can lift all of it up at once and just hold for a few seconds. So breath in, prepare. Start to engage everything down here in our core. And then 3, 2, 1, release. Take a breath in at the bottom. Good. 3, 2, 1. Come down. You can hear in my shaky breath that it's hard for me too. One more. Curl forward. Look towards those feet. Lift them if you need to. Bend the knees if you need to. Set everything back down. You might have noticed that this is the beginning of our hundreds shape. We're going to take one more breath out. As we come up, we're going to start pumping our arms for 5 on an in breath and 5 on an out breath. If you need to change the legs to support your back, you can. In to prepare. Out to come up and in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5. In. Out. In. Out. If it's too hard, you can bend one leg or both. Out. In. Here's your other option. Out. If you're going to do that, make sure you switch in. Out. Keep pumping from those arms, making sure that they stay nice and firm. Hard to count and talk at the same time. Let's do one more in and one more out. 2, 3, 4, 5, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Curl back into a little ball and have a rest. Beautiful. Reaching up and grabbing that block. You're going to take it now and just pop it on your knees. So legs are in a tabletop. Knees are hopefully right above hips. Legs are pressing together. We're going to link our hands behind our head and neck, supporting it. Elbows are staying in the peripheral. We're just going to breathe in to prepare. Breathe out, curl forward. Breathe in, come down. Breathe out, curl forward, and continue. Same as before. If we need to rest the feet down to make it a little bit easier, we can. We're at the beginning here of a combination of ab exercises. So if you know for endurance reasons that maybe it's better off to start with those legs down, you absolutely may. You do whatever you need to make it work for your body. Good. I'm going to curl up. Take that block away for the moment because I don't need it. And then as I curl forward this next time, I'm going to drop the opposite toes down to the mat. Come back to center. I'm going to stay in your chest lift now. Breathe out as you lean towards the leg that stays up, trying to leave it where it is, so we're not crunching it towards us, but we're leaving it away. And then trying also to leave our hips nice and steady, which is difficult for me, and I know for some others as well. We're not just bending the foot down either, I'm not just toe tapping, I'm actually reaching away out of the hip, keeping my elbows wide, top of rib and top of hip here are trying to meet each other. Last line to this side. And then head comes down, have a little look for your block. We're going into our single leg stretch. So, curling back up, no hands behind our head this time because we need them. We're going to pass the block behind our bent knee and just keep switching. That leg reaches long while the core is pulling in and curling us forward. Breathe in as the leg goes out. You can breathe however you need to breathe. So if you need to breathe a little more, whatever you can do. In 3, 2, 1. If you need to put your head down, you can. If not, hand goes on either side of the block. And we're now going to twist towards that leg as the other one straightens out and come back. We're going to turn and tap and come back. Tap the block, return. Tap, return, however you can manage it. If you need to let go with one hand, you can. So we're staying lifted, looking forward, following the block. Good. 3, 2, 1. Finish even. Pop the block on your knees. Have a little rest of your head down. We're going to cradle our head in our hands again. So fingers link together and pop behind our head and neck. You can choose to leave the head and neck down if you need a little rest, or you can exhale to come back up. And we are just going to send the legs away, bring them back. Send the legs away, bring them back. Try not to use your block, lose your block if possible. If this is too much for us, we can just reach one away and practice that. 2, if we can. The higher they go, the easier it is. The lower they go, the harder it is for your core to stop your back from arching. Last one. Grabbing the block and resting down. Block is now going to go between our ankles. If you are using a tissue box, maybe don't use it for this one so you don't squish it. I'm going to find the middle of my mat. I'm going to gently squeeze my ankles together with the help of my inner thighs. Hands come behind my head. I take a big breath in as I start to look forward. I exhale to roll up and lean out, stretch my back a little. Big breath in here, wide ribs, breathe out. Bottom goes under first. Start to pull everything down into the mat, one bone at a time. And then I inhale as my arms come back and forward. I look up, breathe out. Ooh, it's getting hard. Leaning forward. Big breath in, roll it back. We won't do too many. One more, big breath in here. Start to look forward, head peels off first, neck, shoulders, ribs, big curl through the spine. Stretch it out as we breathe. And then coming back down. I've snuck the block out between my feet and popped it off to the side. You can choose to use it here underneath your hips for a little help, but we don't need it if you don't want it. So, legs are together and leaning out in front of us. They're going to tip behind me. Now it's okay for my pelvis to roll because that's what I want it to do. My lower back's going to touch the mat. My legs are going to lift a little just until my bottom's off, and then I'm going to slowly roll back down. Bend my knees. I'm going to send them back out long. My legs are going to start to fold until my bottom lifts a little, just the last few vertebrae, and then pelvis down. Bend my knees. Legs out long. Fold back, lift to where you're comfortable. Knees in. Gentle roll back, flat. Legs go out. Fold it over. Gently putting each vertebra back down and rolling out through my lower spine. Out, over. If you're starting to feel a little more confident, you can lift a little higher, being careful of your back, using your arms to support. If this is too much, you can just gently swing the hips up and over and have a little massage of your lower back. We'll do one last big one together. Knees out. We come back, lift slightly, knees in, gently put lower spine back down and rest those feet. We're going to come to sitting. Roll up. And you're going to grab your block or tissue box, and if you don't have either of those things, pause me for a second and grab maybe a book or something that you can lift your legs over. You won't be touching it, so it doesn't have to be, it can be something lighter or heavier, it doesn't matter. So, if you're back from pausing me, we have the block out in front of us, just where your feet will be. You're going to take both feet out to the side, and I want you to try and sit up as tall as you can on your bottom. It's okay if your back's a little curved. Hands are going to go down into the middle of our thighs, just in behind our knees. And then with a straight leg, you're going to pick it up and over the block. And then the other leg is going to follow. We're trying to sit up as tall as we can. And we're trying not to lean back, which is why our hands are forward. Feeling it like it's coming from deep in your tummy when you're lifting your legs, and not just from the top of the thigh, but it's an up and over. And then the other one follows. If it's too easy, you can flip your block or your book or whatever you happen to be holding. See if you can get those legs up a little higher while keeping your torso up. Breathe out as you lift it over. One at a time, nice and controlled. If we can do it quietly without plopping the leg down, go for it. You can get it onto its highest setting or whatever you chose. Trying to lift those legs over. Now, if they're both going over quite easily, pop it back down nice and low and try and use both legs at once. It gets significantly harder quite quickly. So, my hands are still down. I'm going to take a breath in to prepare. I'm going to breathe out. Lift both legs. If it's good on that setting, you can challenge yourself again. See the way my tongue starts to stick out. My concentration face is happening. If you're not having success with 2 legs, that's okay. Go back to 1. Or keep trying and make mistakes and have some fun. I'm going to go my last setting. I don't know if they'll make it over this, but we'll give it a red hot go. There we go. We'll do 2 more together. Trying to sit in a nice L shape, using those lower abdominal muscles to help us lift up and over. And that's it. Feel free to keep playing if you want to pause and try again until you get it. Otherwise, we'll keep going. I'm going to turn to face you, but you can carry on facing the way you were facing. If you've got your little block, press it against your chest and have your hands on it, just so you've got kind of it's a bit of a smudged circle really, an oval in your hands. We are going to breathe in and sit as tall as we can, and then breathe out, turn. Breathe in back to center, breathe out to turn. What the block's doing is keeping our hands right in front of our chest, so that as we twist, we're not cheating and just using our arms, but the twist is coming from our waist. So from my belly button down, hopefully it's nice and still. My hips are facing forward. And my ribs are turning as I twist. My eyes are going to go back past my shoulder so that my head and my neck are turning as well. Keeping in mind our neck is part of the spine. 2 more. Twist to one side. Back to center. Twist to the other side. Back to center. Block can go down for the time being. We're going to reach our arms out wide. Roll the shoulders back. Big breath in to tilt. Big breath out, sliding our back on an imaginary wall, reaching that top arm over long and strong. Back to your tilt. Out to sit up. Into tip. Out to reach. Into tilt. Out to sit, using the sides of your waist to pick you up. Good. As you reach the arm away, make sure the hip on that side is pressing firmly into the floor. So similar to when we were warming up, the hips want to stay nice and still, and we're reaching up and out of them. Like your body's the water coming out of a water fountain, and your hips are the base. So we're reaching up and away. Using your obliques to pick you up. Big tilt to the side. Big lean over. Last one here. Tilt back, and then sitting back up. Beautiful. Grabbing your block again. All of this, if you don't have a block, just keep going and pretend that it's there. Sometimes it's harder not to have the prop and have to do the work without it. We're going to lay back onto our mat, find a nice comfy spot. Oh, the sun's come out. And you're going to take the block, starting off on the same side of your body, between a knee and an elbow. If you're tall, it'll crunch you in a little further. If you're petite, you get a little bit extra space. Other leg and arm are going to come up. So I'm not pushing too hard, but there's a nice firm pressure. Like if I hit the block, it's not going to come out. Keeping the block side still, I'm going to reach away with the opposite limbs and then back to center. Reaching away, coming back to center. Beautiful, reach away. Come back to center. You can choose whatever breathing pattern works for you. So in as you get long, and out as you curl back in is my preference. but feel free to reverse it if that's what works for you. Keep pressing into the block with that opposite side of the body. You can give it a little knock, make sure it's not going anywhere, or if you're practicing with someone, roll over and smack their block and see if it'll fall out. Good. Reach out, reach in, continue to press, feeling it down the side of the body. As you stabilize, you can bend that elbow if you need to get a better grip on it. And then we're going to switch. So taking the block into the opposite elbow and knee. Can either be straight or bent in, however you can get the best grip on it. Other arm and leg are going to go out and back in. If this is too easy for you, you can always use the leg straight so it'll lower down and then just fold straight at the hip. I find that one tricky because my hamstrings are tight. So as I try and bring my leg to the ceiling, it's going to cause me to tilt my pelvis backwards and my lower back to press into the floor, which is fine, but not what I'm looking for here. I'm trying to stay neutral with that little gap between the mat and my back. Breath in, reach. Breath out and curl. We'll do 2 more on this side. Now for the tricky part. I'm going to take my opposite elbow and knee and hold them together. It may cause you to crunch in a little bit, but if possible, try and keep the knee above the hip and use the elbow as the part of your body that twists a little. So we get a little bit of oblique happening here from the top across the front, and then we go with the opposite ones. We're going to reach away, reach back in. So there's coordination happening as I reach away, reach back in. Good. Keep pressing firmly into the block. Pardon my clicky knee. Hopefully it's not too loud on camera. Good. Keep breathing. Try not to hold your breath. One last one here. And then as gracefully as you can, switching over, making sure you've got a good grip, elbow to knee, and then stretch away. Come back in. It's a nice stretch at that long position for the hip flexor that's just been working hard to pull the knee in towards the chest. Out and back in. Reach it out and back in. Keep pressing. Reach it out. Come back in. Good. Trying to stay nice and even. Keeping that pace up. I think I was cheating and letting my heel drop on the knee that's resting in. Keep the heel up. Hopefully that 90-degree angle in the knee joint. Good. Couple more. Don't drop the block. That's it. Last one. And then stretch your legs out. Whew, and let those hip flexors have a little rest. To stretch the front of the legs now and strengthen the back, we're just going to take the block, if you have it, between the knees. Whatever setting helps you get your hips in the right distance apart. So I like it narrow, but if you need to go wider for your hips, go for it. Keeping our feet aligned, hands are down. We're just going to take a breath in and roll. So as we exhale, we roll that spine up. Get ourselves into a nice flat position here. Take a breath in, and then as we breathe out, chest lowers first, and then bone by bone, we set everything back on the mat. Good. Up we go. Wiggle around, find the right spot on your shoulders at the top. Make sure you're pressing those hips right open at the front that we've just used. And then exhale. Replace everything. Make sure we go all the way into our neutral, so that little rock forward to get the back off. And then out to come up. If you want to stretch a little further, arms can come ahead, keeping those ribs connected to the hips at the front. And then dropping it on down. Good, hands come back to the mat. We're just going to do a few straight presses up, so without articulating the spine, we're just going to breathe out and press. Breathe in and come down. Little pressure on the block again, so engaging the inner thighs while we do this. Feeling it travel up the center of the body. So like you're putting on your tight pair of jeans. Everything is drawing in towards the center. Ribs are wrapping around. And then the work is happening in the back of our legs here as well. Good. Another 2. Another 1. Now we're switching to single leg. So our options include taking the block, popping it the best way you can under one foot, and then bending the opposite knee. So we're pressing up, keeping our hips level and using the prop under one foot. Or if you'd like to do it the other way, a little trickier, involves some balance, putting the block on one foot, keeping that foot up to the ceiling. Oh, mine wants to go. Trying to hold it as best you can and not doing anything weird with your foot because you're overthinking it. And then pressing up and down, trying not to let that block drop. Up and down. If you haven't started yet, join me. If that block is diving off your foot, feel free to pause it and carry on once you're reset. I can't stop overthinking it because I'm on camera, so I'm switching back to the easier option. Neither is particularly easy. Pressing up through that heel on the bottom leg, making sure that we keep our knees aligned as well so we're not flaring out to the sides. Exhale, press up. Inhale, come down. Trying to get to our full height even though we're only on one leg. And then while you're up, have a quick look. Are your hips even? Are your ribs still plugged in? 2 more. And down, and up, and down. Beautiful. Switching feet. And then getting ready to go again. If you need to pause it and get that block situated, you can. I'm going to start with the easy version, build my confidence and work my way up. We're going to exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. If the block under your foot is too much, you can take it out. But you can switch back to one foot. If you want to practice 2 feet. If you want to practice 1 foot, but holding your leg up is making your hips do weird things, feel free to cross it over and try and press your hips up that way. So in that little figure 4, you'll be stretching out the leg you just used, but you'll also have an easier time getting that leg in the air. I'm going to try and balance it on this foot and see if I can manage it. Just going to play around and have some fun. If it doesn't work, that's all right. Whoop. If you're still going and you're waiting for me, I'm sorry. Here we go. Breathe it out. Good, we'll just do one last one on this leg. Exhale up. Inhale down. Grab your block. And then let your legs out long. Beautiful. We're going to roll straight onto our side. The block is not necessary for this portion, but you can use it to rest your hand on if you'd like to. Getting lined up on our mat. We have a head under our arm. Sorry, arm under our head. That makes more sense. And then we are perfectly on our side, so hips and shoulders are both facing forward. Bottom hand can be resting, or if you want your block back, you can just rest it there. Top leg is going to reach up to hip height. You're going to exhale, the foot forward. Inhale, the foot back. Exhale, the foot forward. Inhale, the foot back. Try to hold your pelvis relatively still. So as you exhale forward, you want to come as far as you can without that hamstring, causing your bottom to tuck under. And you point back just slightly past the front leg, barely at all, so you don't arch the back. If you need to bend the bottom leg to give you a little extra support, you can. It's a lot nicer to start with. Whereas if you want a little bit of a challenge, you straighten it out. Takes away some of our stability. Good, last one here. Leaving that leg parallel, we are going to lift and lower, not letting our hips move again. So we don't want that hip this time to sneak up towards our ribs. You can take your top hand and press down on it to make sure that you're not bending at the waist. Lift and lower. Keeping it parallel as well, so the knee is facing me if you can. Lift and lower, keep going. 2 more. Last one. And then we're going to leave the feet together for a second. We're going to lift both of them off the floor, just slightly. It's a little hover, so they're only maybe this far off. Leaving the bottom foot slightly off the floor, the top foot's going to lift and lower 5 times. And as it comes down, don't let it press the other leg back onto the floor. That's 3, we've got 2 more. 2, 1. Leave the top leg up a little, and then bottom leg is going to lift and lower to meet it 5 times. Good. 4 and 5. Bottom leg stays down. It can bend again if we need, and we're going to do a few little circles forward. Pop down, have a look that your hips are staying relatively still. And then backwards. Keeping them relatively small. Dinner plate sized at biggest. I need to chill out and do mine smaller. Last 2. Last 1. Beautiful. You can roll onto the other side, or you can spin over. Legs facing out that way. Hopefully I haven't popped my head off. I may have. We are going to take the top leg to hip height. Press the foot forward. Point the toes back. Flex it forward. Point it back. I feel like you're getting a weird view of my foot, so I'm going to move forward and back. Good. I choose to keep my knee on the bottom bent here. I struggle to lay still. If this is your strength, you're nice and stable, feel free to straighten that bottom leg. Exhale forward. Inhale back. Exhale forward. Inhale back. 1 more. And back. Bottom leg straighten if it's not there yet. And then we're going to lift and lower out of that hip socket. Lift and lower, top hip staying away from us. Lift and lower. So our waist is the same length on both sides, both top and bottom. Depending on your shape, you might have a little gap on the floor. If you're more of a rectangular person, you'll be a lot closer to the floor. Lift and lower, keeping it there. Good. Couple more. And then when we start to feel it lighting up a little bit in the side of the hip, we're going to keep both legs glued together. Stretch out of the hips and then lift and lower the top leg. Good. 3, 2, 1. Leave it up. Bottom leg's going to try and meet it. 5. Don't put it down. 4. Keep it hovered. 3. That's it. 2. And 1. Now it can lower, and then the top leg is going to do little dinner plates forward. Remembering to breathe. And then let's reverse the direction. Good. 3, 2, 1. Rolling onto your stomach. And then I'm going to press back and sit on my feet with my knees nice and wide. Have a little rest. So the back of my hips can stretch back out after all that work. Doing well. Almost there. So, we are going to lay face down now. Still no block for the time being. We're going to lower nice and flat. Forehead down if we can. If your nose is getting in the way, tuck your chin in a little more. Arms are going to reach straight out in front of us. We're going to get straight into it today. So, pubic bone presses down to the mat. Stomach pulls away, creating that support for our lower back. We're going to lift one arm and then lower it. Lift the other arm and lower it. Face is still down. Little lift and lower. So preparing for our swim. Little lift and lower. Keep going. I've put myself too close to the wall, so I'm going to move back. Lift and lower. Nice and slow. Go 3, 2, 1. Resting the hands for the moment, keeping the head down. And then stretching the foot away towards the back of the mat. So the back of the hip is working to lift those legs away from us. Stretching out not letting our lower back arch, but our pelvis is pressed into the floor the whole time. Alternating legs, lift and lower. And then in a moment, we're going to pop up, head up and everything, hold it off the floor, and we're going to go for a little swim. That's 2. Last 1. Taking a breath in to prepare. Pubic bone down, belly up. We're going to hover our head off the mat. We're going to only look just slightly forward, maybe about where our elbows are. Hands are going to lift. Legs are going to lift. And then we're going to alternate and drop down towards the mat and come back up. This pace feels good for you. You can pick it up a little. That's it. And pick it up a little. And pick it up a little. And then pick it up a little again. And then when you're ready, if your lower back is feeling all right and your upper back can keep you up, we're going to swim as fast as we can. We're going to breathe in for 5 and out for 5. Limbs straight. In for 5 and out for 5. Good. In and out, and then in and out, and come down and rest. Hands under our shoulders, pressing back into our rest position. One more time. Lovely. Folded forward over our legs. Having a little breather. If you like, you can pop the arms back behind you so you're curled up in a little ball. Relax your shoulders. We're going to come onto our hands and knees. Just readjust. So, fingers are spread out really wide, shoulders over wrists, knees are under hips, toes are back. We are going to, without shifting too much weight, pick one foot up off the floor, flex it, and then send the knee backwards and the heel up. You can have a little peek behind or under, making sure that you've stayed nice and even. You're going to drop the knee and then try and press the roof away. Drop the knee, press the roof away. Good.